This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. We are just starting today. Peter King stopping by next hour on all the coaching openings. Uncle Dave Wannstedt, the last coach to win a playoff game for the Dolphins, the last Chicago Bear coach that won a road playoff game. Dave Wannstedt's going to be joining us. I get more information from Dave Wannstedt off the air than any source I've ever had. The guy knows everybody. He's Jimmy Johnson's best friend, Cowboy, Super Bowl. Joy Taylor's joining me.
You know, Dave Wannstedt was the first celebrity I ever met.
Dave Wannstedt is the most connected human being in the NFL. And if you met Dave, you'd understand why.
Yeah, he knows my mother. Hi, Mom.
There you go. All right, here we go. I love this time. This is my favorite thing all week. Sometimes I say stuff and I'm right. Sometimes I say stuff and I'm wrong, and I just want to own both, right? So we do it every Monday at this time all year. Colin was right. Colin was wrong. Here we go.
Where Colin was right?
The John Gruden story, we predicted it. We told you the Raiders, you cannot be out of the National Football League for a decade and not be out of sync. Khalil Mack has made the Bears a playoff team. Amari Cooper's been a home run for the Cowboys. They had the worst record in the AFC at 4-12 and the worst point differential in the AFC. They're hiring their next general manager. Reportedly is going to be Mike Mayock, a TV guy. So John Gruden did TV. He's the coach. Mike Mayock did TV. He's going to be their GM. I may be the director of scouting in a week for the Raiders. I just don't think you can be out of this sport this long, come in, and not be completely out of sync. I do think Gruden knows offense, and he may right the ship. I'm not sure he can take all these draft picks and make it work. He was not a great drafter in Tampa.
Where Colin was wrong.
Yeah, my two Super Bowl teams were Atlanta and Pittsburgh. Neither made the playoffs. Atlanta just fired their coordinators. Atlanta came into the season with all sorts of injuries, never got it right. Pittsburgh, I don't have any answers. It's the most talented NFL team I've ever seen that didn't make the playoffs. And it's not just that they missed the playoffs. They couldn't beat out two rookie quarterbacks and Jeff Driscoll. The organization, I mean, the division was there for the taking. Atlanta, some of it was just injuries. They walked into the season on crutches, and they never got right. Pittsburgh, I whiffed.
Where Colin was right?
Called it 3 months ago. I said the team to keep your eye on that's going to sneak into the playoffs, the Indianapolis Colts. I said they've figured out their offensive line. Andrew Luck's never had an elite offensive line. And even though they had a losing record, I said Andrew Luck has time to throw, and it appears with Marlon Mack, a little bit of a running game. He's never had it, and he put up huge numbers without it, and they have become the hottest team in the league. They also have 9 draft picks and $100 million to spend, and I think the best young GM in the sport in Chris Ballard. But of all the rights this year, it is easy to like teams when they're winning. We liked the Colts when they had a losing record, and we liked them because we said Luck is transformative and has a real running game and a real O-line, and they've delivered for us.
Where Colin was wrong.
I said a week ago, LeBron James is the only star that never gets hurt. And the next day, he got hurt. And it was an old man injury. It wasn't like he collided with somebody. He slipped on the floor and heard something pop. That's what happens to me. That's what happens to old guys. When you get a big injury and miss a week or two, and you didn't even collide with anybody, it's a groin strain, out for a week. Now, it should be noted, this is his first, second, even minor injury. But it is interesting, is that to this point, not only has he been the NBA's Swiss Army knife, he can do everything well, he just doesn't get hurt ever. And the way it works in pro sports, once you get hurt in your 30s, it starts to escalate. So keep our eye on that.
Where Colin was right?
I've been saying this. The best of Aaron Rodgers is over. And we called it coming into the season. We said, listen, man, he's going to be 35. He's increasingly brittle. He's hard to coach. There's a lot of ego. He just got Mike McCarthy out of there. And for the record, Green Bay was 2-2 after McCarthy got fired, and those wins were over Atlanta, awful, and the Jets, awful. I think his best years are behind him. He beat one winning team this year, one winning team. It's not that I don't like Aaron, but the division's better. The Bears have a great coach, a terrific young general manager in Ryan Pace, and they have a better roster. And most of Chicago's best players are babies. They're on rookie contracts. And Minnesota's roster is better than Green Bay. And I don't know is this really a great job? It's nothing. We're not anti-Aaron Rodgers. We're real with Aaron Rodgers. We said it before the year. We said it last year. He's going to be like Brett Favre. First 10 of the best 10. After that, he'll be good, but he won't change the league.
Where Colin was wrong.
I thought Todd Bowles was going to work in New York. Every time I watched the Jets, the defense and the special teams were excellent. They had an attention to detail. But he got fired, and I think a lot of this is the general manager. Jamal Adams came out yesterday and said, we need more players. Jamal Adams didn't come out yesterday and say, we need a new coach. He came out and said, we need more dogs. We don't have any guys. So I think this is a GM problem, not a coach problem. But I will say this, and this is where I was wrong, is that as much as I like Todd Bowles, he is not only quiet, he's like nonverbal. And when you're a coach in the NFL, there's sometimes you have to walk in a room and own it. Todd is really uniquely quiet and reticent. I think he's a tremendous defensive coordinator, maybe a college coach, but I think at the NFL, people question if he's the alpha that can walk in the room and own it, and the Jets said he wasn't, so I was wrong on that.
Where Colin was right.
How'd Kirk Cousins do yesterday? He threw for 132 yards. He's now 4-25 against teams with winning records, and he laid another egg in a big game. And I also called Minnesota the step-back team in the NFL. Remember that? I said, listen, every year there's a team or two in the NFL that catches lightning in a bottle. And I said Jacksonville's going to pull back and Minnesota's going to pull back. Because I think, frankly, Case Keenum was a better fit with this offense than Kirk Cousins. It's nothing against him. But yesterday I watched he and his wide receivers yelling at each other on the sideline. They're getting tired of it. And it's not that he can't win big games. He can't make plays, any of them in big games. After a while, the wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, those guys are great receivers. He can't get the ball to them.
Where Colin was wrong.
I can't figure out the Nick Foles thing. I just can't figure it out. I mean, I know Carson Wentz is better. Every scout I have, every GM, every executive, every source I have in the league.
Is he, though?
Every single person in the league's like, oh, yeah, Wentz is way better. And I'm like, well, then how come Foles is 9-2 in his last 11, and he completed 25 straight passes?
It's amazing.
He is literally either the best backup in the history of the league or he's a starter somewhere, because as an athlete, he's average. Arm, okay. Mobility, meh. Leadership, kind of quiet. I can't figure him out. 25 straight completions yesterday. What is this, high school football?
Maybe the offense just works better with him.
Every source I have, we're all like, what the heck's happening?
What do you say? Use your eyes?
I think I was wrong. Here's what I say. I was wrong. I continue to be wrong on Nick Foles.
Where Colin was right.
We told you Clemson, Alabama's dominance was not good for college football. It has become, in the last 5 years, it is now a regional sport, and the ratings collapsed this weekend. They weren't down. They collapsed. The Notre Dame game, Clemson was down 32%. A third of college football fans did not watch. Alabama's a dynasty. Nobody watched. More people watched Alabama, Georgia than Alabama, Oklahoma. Folks, 4 years in a row, we've had Bama, Clemson in the final or semifinal, and it's just too regional. I'm not blaming them. Alabama's the best program. Clemson's number 2. I'm not blaming them. I'm saying it's bad for business. This year, I made a decision as a host to talk less college football. Joy and I's fall ratings up 33%. We moved off of it. I'm not in the business of talking about regional sports. I'm in the business of talking about national sports. College football is desperate for somebody Denver West or somebody in the North to at least ding the armor of Bama Clemson.
Where Colin was wrong.
Patrick Mahomes. I picked the Chiefs to be 8-8, and I said, would you quit telling me Patrick Mahomes is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread? I've never seen him play. He's pretty good. 50 touchdowns. And beyond the stats, he's good. He's got a little Brett Favre, a little flashy for me. I like my quarterbacks to look where they throw. But he is better than I thought. He actually, with Andy Reid, is a better pro quarterback than he is a college quarterback. He looks more under control than he did in college. He's got some good pieces here. But there's no question he's going to get the MVP. I would have voted Andrew Luck, but Mahomes is way better than I thought. And I'd heard stuff. Andy Reid was texting me last year. He kept saying, this kid's good. This kid's crazy. It's going to be fun. I was like, oh, come on. I was wrong.
Where Colin was right.
John Wall out for 8 months. Folks, point guards that can't shoot, you can't build around them. You can't build around Derrick Rose. You can't build around John Wall. You're not going to win championships with Westbrook, who, by the way, yesterday was 4 for 22, 0 for 8 for threes, and apologized, Westbrook did. We have a history in this league. Point guards that can't shoot have to use their athletic ability and drive to the basket to score. And they get beat up and worn down, and they don't last. And by year 7, year 8, year 9, they're not the same player. That's when D. Rose curtailed. That's John Wall now is not the same player. Westbrook is all over the map. It's not that they're not great players, good highlight guys. You can't give $30 and $40 million to an athletic point guard that can't shoot. They can